ABC iView.
Death, taxes, and a revolt when daylight savings in WA is discussed. They are the certainties in life, and the scab that this argument has caused over the years has been ripped off again, with Upper House member of the Legislative Council, Wilson Tucker, commissioning research to gauge the mood on the issue, and he joins us now to discuss. Good afternoon, Mr. Tucker. You certainly are a sucker for punishment. Daylight saving, it's a very tough sell to the audience you are speaking with now. Can you tell us about the research that was undertaken by the University of Queensland?
G'day, Ivo. Yeah, good to chat. Look, it's the first national-wide survey that's been conducted in, at least a very long time, maybe forever, and certainly the first survey the comprehensive survey that's been conducted in WA, really since the referendum back in 2009, and it's showing there's a majority support now, so 64% are supportive of daylight saving. So back in 2009, it was defeated by 54%. So really a growing trend of support for daylight saving, which is obviously what I've been saying for a few years now. But it's good to have that quantified and to show that there's a large cohort of people that really that want to see daylight saving implemented in Western Australia.
You said, 64% of respondents in WA wanted daylight savings. Do we have a breakdown on how many actual people this was and how many was from regional WA?
Look, there is a report by University of Queensland. It was conducted by a third-party survey company. I think it was Quadratics, and they had a statistician. So it will be a peer-reviewed report. The University of Queensland is confident on the numbers. I think when we talk about regional WA, it does get a little bit fuzzy. It was hard to try and get their sentiment, but what we're talking about is majority support and getting that statistical significance over Western Australia. What it's showing is there is majority support in the metro, so nothing new there. Some surprising facts: females over males in support. Younger generations in inner cities are supportive. And one surprising statistic that I found was couples with children actually are supportive more so than without children. So I think it's sort of breaking that old myth that parents are concerned that it's harder to get kids to bed with daylight saving. So look, it's some interesting stats and breakdowns. I think the battle lines are still largely drawn between regional and rural and metro.
And speaking of that, in the report it said that only 44% of rural respondents in WA say they would like daylight saving. Why do you think there's 25% less support in regional areas compared to the metro cousins?
I think so. I've always said that for me it really boils down to this lifestyle issue. Like you can argue the economics of it. Certainly the time zone, difference between east versus west and the benefit there for businesses. But for me, it's really this lifestyle issue. And I think if you're living in those metro areas close to the coast, I think you're predominantly going to get those lifestyle issues. You can go to the beach after work. You have more of a 9 to 5, so you want those evening hours to go shopping, to hang out with your friends, do whatever you need to do. So I think those lifestyle benefits are more realised in those metro areas, where in the regional areas, probably not so much. And I think they're a little bit sort of change agnostic. If you don't see those benefits, then why do we want it? I think is that what it really boils down to.
Mr. Wilson, if you were Premier for a day and you were able to get a referendum on this matter over, when would you like to see this put forward to a vote?
Oh, look, I like the hypothetical, Ivo. I mean, timing really is everything. We're obviously coming to election quite soon. I'd say in the next couple of years. Probably not at the end of the summer where everyone gets blasted with a lot of sunshine, but maybe we have it in the winter, and we get more of an accurate sort of test of people's sentiment on the issue. The poll did show that most people are a little bit. I think what it reflects is about the fatigue that we're experiencing around referendums. So there's obviously a bit of a question as to when we would have another referendum on this. I'm certainly a bit burnt out. I think most people are, certainly in regional areas. So, at the end of the day, we task politicians to make decisions and get on with it. I think based on this survey and this research, I think we should probably just band-aid approach and get it in, get it done.
You're a very, very big man for doing it, because I can say that the text line is, if it's one thing that I love on radio, is talking about daylight saving, because the texts that come through are just vehemently against it. And I must admit, from somebody who used to live in metropolitan WA, I did vote yes in that 2007 referendum, but I would have been, nearly 20, I think I was 20 years old. I would actually vote no now, because I don't think it helps regional WA. Is that where it's going to have this metro versus country divide? That, they've always said in Queensland that the southeast corner of Queensland might get daylight savings, but the rest of the state wouldn't. We wouldn't want to see another time zone, would we?
Yeah, I mean, in summer across Australia, we enter a bit of time zone hell, and I think it's already complicated enough. So one statistic was that WA, most residents didn't feel that we should have this split time zone mode, which is a proposal that I've seen in Queensland. I think for Queensland, it probably makes a little bit more sense. For WA, if you're on the east of the state, you already get a little bit of sort of natural daylight saving, or more, an earlier, early afternoon or early amount of sunshine. So look, I don't think we should confuse everyone a little bit more, including the cows, and have a split mode.
Yeah.
It does sort of boil down to this regional versus metro, which is a little bit unfortunate. And when we're talking about a topic of daylight saving, I mean, it is a broad sort of issue, I guess you could say. And so it's hard to get, everyone on board and in agreement. But what we're seeing now is, 64%, it is a majority. It does benefit the majority of the people. It is the makeup of Western Australia, where we have most people concentrated in metro areas. So I think, to give that broad sentiment or try and get the most bang for a buck in terms of people that support it, I think we need to try and, implement it across the board.
Well, Mr. Wilson, thank you very much for joining us here again. A brave man, but you certainly have your convictions. You certainly do love it. Take care, and thank you again.
Thanks, Ivo.
It's 18 minutes past 4, regional drive, and the text line going off. Alan in Katanning has called in as well. Alan, what are your thoughts?
This is a disaster. It is interesting because daylight saving actually does not work in a hot climate environment, which is Queensland and Western Australia. My son-in-law is in Canberra, who've always had daylight saving. They spent a summer with us when we had it at one stage, and he just could not handle it at all. I worked for a chap who came from Tasmania, who has daylight saving, and he said, over here, it is the worst thing possible. You lose the two best hours of the day, the one in the morning when it's cool and the one in the afternoon when it's cool. Because if you bring in daylight saving, you have to get up at 4 o'clock to go for a walk instead of 5. And by 9 o'clock, when it's cool enough to do something, you've got to go to bed.
Yeah.
It does not work in a hot environment.
As I said, I went from one camp to the other, and I must admit, I was in my 20s, I was living in Fremantle. I thought daylight saving, the 3 years that we did have that test, and look, I enjoyed it. It was great. But now living, I was here in Albany at the moment, but living in Kalgoorlie, Boulder for the last 13 years, I just don't think we could have it. It would no. Absolutely it just does not work. But again,
it doesn't work.
The good thing is that we can have a discussion, and I do love the text line, because you bring something like this up, it certainly gets people talking away. But thank you very much, Alan.
Gonna go off. Okay.
That's Alan from Katanning, and talking about daylight savings. I'll get through some of the texts coming up, but look, I'm going to talk about something a little bit else.